So as I described in the lesson plan assignment video, you're free to use whatever lesson plan template that you choose and that best fits your style of teaching and your context. But in this course, I want to offer two structured lesson plans that you're welcome to use. What you're seeing here is the reading that is attached. So the first model that I want to show you is called the BOPS model. This is a pretty standard lesson plan. You'll notice that it follows very closely the 7 elements of great lessons that I described in an earlier video. First is the bridge in, or where you gain attention, the learning, stating the learning objective, and then you pre-assess learners to find out what their prior knowledge is. You present material and give students an opportunity to practice. Then you post-assess student and summarize and close the lesson. So just a few things I want to point out about this lesson or workshop plan template is make sure that the objective that you write references the DACOM or your course guide, your course outcome guide. And you'll also see that it's divided into the instructor and the learner activities. So it's important here when you talk about what the teacher is doing to also talk about what the learners are doing. So take a look at the sample lesson plans and see how the instructor activities and the learner activities are described. The next lesson plan model I want to show you is especially effective for outcomes-based courses, and it's called the CARD model. CARD is an acronym that stands for Context, Activity, Reflection, and Documentation. The main part, or the body of the lesson, falls in with this activity. The learning activity engages the learner attention and fosters participation. The aim of this activity is that it will somehow promote thinking, reflection, or even self-insight. So some good examples of activities that work well in a CARD framework is case studies or discussion groups. A course dealing with ethics or issues or dilemmas really lend well to this type of activity. So in order for the activity to be successful, you need to set the context, and this is really the reason for the lesson. So setting in context can include things such as instructions on how to do the activity or any background knowledge that student needs to do the activity. It can be a form of self-assessment. So after you've set up the activity, your students have participated in the activity, the next step is in reflection. So in this part of the lesson plan, students reflect back on the learning that happened during the activity in order for it to make sense and relevant for them. You'll probably recognize this section here as the focused conversation model that you're using in your reflective writing. It's a great way to structure a student's reflection on their activity. The final part of this lesson plan is in documentation, where students have a written record of what they've learned. It can also be combined with the reflection. It could be a written reflection which can serve as the documentation. So even though a different format's used, it's still important to go through the steps and elements of a great lesson, which includes presentation of the objective and the outcome, some way to open and gain their attention. After the work is done in the body of the lesson, think about how you're going to assess the learning. Summarize, next steps, and closure. Please take a careful look at the example lesson plan for CARD. And remember, you're welcome to use these or to modify them in whatever way makes sense for your lesson. Have fun with lesson planning. Bye-bye.